members. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Perryman Municipal Authority, December 16th, 2019, at 6:15. Roll call, please.
Colern.
Here.
Vaughn.
Here.
Dillbeck.
Here.
Ahern.
Here.
Marshall. Here. White.
Here.
Morrell.
Here.
Wines.
Here.
Streller.
Here, thank you. I do declare a quorum. This evening, invocation will be by Councilman Ahern.
Okay, let's all pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much in advance for your presence in this meeting tonight. I'd ask that you would help and guide us to make decisions that honor you and serve to bless the people of this community. May our time be filled with a positive spirit of cooperation and respect for the differing opinions that might be present around this table tonight. We pray this in your heavenly name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Brian. Item 1 is the consent agenda. There's only one item.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Colern.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Dillbeck.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Wines.
Yes.
Streller.
Yes, thank you. We'll move down to item 4, comments from those assembled pertaining to the items on the PMA agenda. Seeing none, item 5, proclamation, commendation, reports, and inquiries by the governing body. Item number 6, any new business this evening for the PMA? If not, item 7, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Colern.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Dillbeck.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Wines.
Yes.
Streller.
Yes, thank you. I'd call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Perry, December 16th, 2019, at 6:17. Roll call, please.
Colern.
Here.
Vaughn.
Here.
Dillbeck.
Here.
Ahern.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
White.
Here.
Morrell.
Here.
Wines.
Here.
Streller.
Here. I do declare a quorum. Item number 1, the consent agenda. There's quite a list there. We can either approve them or have a discussion.
I'll make a motion. I was going to approve items A through I, and I just had a question on J.
Okay, we'll pull off item J. Have a second on that?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Colern.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Dillbeck.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Wines.
Yes.
Streller.
Yes, thank you. Item number J, or letter J.
J.
J,
Yeah, my question wasn't around whether it was needed. My question was why it went into the consent agenda as opposed to just through a regular agenda item. I'm just curious.
Yeah, we could have done a regular agenda item on it. It's just purchase of electric equipment. Quite frankly, it could have been placed just on the claims list, you know. Not this claims list, the regular claims list, but Russ asked that it be placed on the agenda, so I put it there.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I just was, sometimes I feel like on the agenda, our regular agenda, we approve items for $300 or $400.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then we throw this one in there for $13,000. It just seemed
Yeah,
odd.
we're gonna try to get hold of that issue next year. Kind of have a sit-down meeting between the CFO. We haven't had a chance to do it yet, and really talk about how we present those. Make sure that we give you the maximum information that we can, but that we don't drag out the items on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve item J.
second.
Can I
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. I
ask
apologize.
what Meredith was gonna say?
Oh, I was going to mention, the reason that Russ wanted this on the agenda is specifically for vendor purchases. We want to make sure that we are, you all are cognizant of all purchases that are made from vendors, that they don't exceed a certain level if we have not bid them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
There's bidding requirements, and if we continue to buy from a specific vendor, we could hit those bidding requirements, thresholds. So you all need to be aware of this and know that we are purchasing from these people continually that aren't subject to bid. That's,
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Do we have a second? No, we need a second on that.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Colern.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Dilbeck.
Yes.
Haver.
Yes.
Marshall.
yes.
White.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Wise.
Yes.
Strada.
Yes, thank you. Comments from those assembled pertaining to items on the city agenda this evening? Seeing none, item 5, proclamation, commendation reports required by the governing body. Item 6, city manager's report. Larry, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Real simple tonight. 11th Street is open.
It's not bad, they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, it's
It is. Yeah, I went over it this afternoon. Yeah, I thought they did a real good job.
I went down and looked at that project. We've been waiting months on concrete to show up, and they put it in with asphalt.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get asphalt, go figure.
Yeah.
Said they couldn't get it.
And then said that we wanted concrete, and it's not the way that we presented it at all. So anyway, the project is done, and we're I even stopped at the stop sign at 11th and Market too, by the way. So
It's good, yeah.
that's really all I have. I've notified the council and the department heads that be going on medical leave tomorrow, and Dixie will be acting city manager for a while. So that's all I've got. Thank you, sir.
Well, we wish you luck.
Thank you.
Item number 7, or anyone have any questions for Larry? I'm sorry. Okay. Item 7, chief financial officer's report.
2 meetings in a row you all get. I know Russ keeps you all well informed, so I'm just gonna kind of go over some highlights for November financials. Total cash, a little over $8.5 million. We're down about 4% from where we were this time last month. When you look at the seasonality of our revenue stream right now, electric and water is down as expected. People are not running their air conditioners and they're not watering their lawns. So that's kind of creating a little bit of that cash differential right now. You all know when we budget, we look at the seasonality of that and we plan to make most of our money on water and sewer in those summer months. So we're riding this out, and you'll see this kind of ebb and flow over the next couple of months as we as we hope sales tax increases. Although in the month of November we were down $167,000 and some change. So still working through that, but that's our cash right now. No significant changes, but something to just kind of be aware of the timing of how our utilities are coming in right now. Questions? Okay. Flipping to the general fund itself, 42%. That's kind of our benchmark for the month of November. And sales tax, as I told you, at $167,000 and some change. And once we take into account the transfers in, we've got about a loss of $95,000. And we budgeted for a $32,000 loss. The sales tax that we've seen continue to not rise. I'm trying not to be negative, but sales tax is an issue that we're monitoring. So that, coupled with a couple of extra expenses that Larry and I have talked about, you'll see a budget amendment for those next month. I know you all are aware of everything that's going on. So then the code enforcement with the hiring there and some improvements made in City Hall, some things like that, those will be on a budget amendment next month for you all to look at. But that's general fund itself. Some fun for the general fund. All right, and on the municipal, everything's in line. Electric revenue, water revenue, of course, high right now because of our seasonality, and making a little over $1.4 million of operating income. Once we take into account the administration expenses and our transfers out, we're clearing a little over $500,000. Combine that $500,000 revenue stream with $100,000 loss, you're at about a $400,000 net profit 4 months into the year, 5 months into the year. Questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no questions? We'll move on to item 8. Consider items pertaining to the Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Program. Item A, consider review of stability test scores from the recognition training from OMAG. These are the scores, when they came and gave us their training. And from those of you that weren't here, you took your training later. On page 2 back there, the second page is your scores that they tally for us, average scores. And then there's a second page behind that, a third page, I guess, it said how we compare to others. Ours was 79.85, and there's a whole lot of on there that's a lot lower than us. So I think our score's pretty outstanding. Any questions on that?
Well, I think what it shows is that we have a high opinion of ourselves. I do think that we shouldn't take that to heart too much. I think we can do a lot better. And I think we should strive to do better, particularly in the two that we are low on, and that's communication and image. I think image, with our stuff on TV, for a community this size, we do try to communicate with the public, and we have a history of doing that for decades. So we do that, but as the administration, I don't know about Larry or Meredith Dixie, but we were happy with it, but we want to make sure that we keep these numbers up. Those of you that might have scored us low, we'll do harder. We'll try harder.
There's certainly room for improvement, no doubt about that. We can always add more communication, video, whatever it may be. But you also have to balance that with the staff that we have and the resources that we have.
And I think now knowing what to expect will help us in the years to come on how we need to look at things.
Well, planning, we need to have some strategic plan, and I know
We
that
do.
we're talking about doing that. We do need to do some planning, and we'll bring that to you. We want to find out what you want us to do, and what your priorities are.
We are looking
That's
at a
real
planning
important.
session somewhere in late February, March, somewhere in that area.
Good, I think that's needed. That will help.
Any further questions or statements? All right, we'll move on to item B. Consider approval of resolution number 2019-10 authorizing participation in the OMAG recognition program. This is just to approve that we participated, correct, Dixie?
Motion to approve. Second.
You say? Derek. Roll call, please.
Calderon?
Yes.
Bond?
Yes.
Dilbeck?
Yes.
Faber?
Yes.
Marshall? Yes. White?
Yes.
Wall?
Yes.
Wines?
Yes.
Strauss?
Yes, thank you. Okay, item number, mine got cut off, item 9. These are consider approval of emergency clauses to the following ordinances. These are ordinances that we've passed the last couple meetings, but there wasn't 7 council members here, so we brought these back to pass the emergencies now, okay? That's all we're asking is to pass the emergency. Letter A, ordinance. Ordinance number 2019-23 of the City Council of the City of Perry, Oklahoma pertaining to the Perry Municipal Airport, amending Chapter 16 of the Perry Municipal Code 2018 supplement entitled Transportation, Article 2 entitled Airport by the addition of Section 16-209 entitled Parking Certain Vehicles or Trailers or using any vehicle or any building or other structure as a dwelling within the enclosed fenced area at the Perry Municipal Airport, providing for the amendment to the Chapter 18 of the Perry Municipal Code Supplement, 2018 Supplement, entitled Fee Schedule by the amendment of Section 16205 entitled Annual Ground Lease Payment for the Lots and Rentals Fees for the City Hangar at the Airport, providing for certain amended fees and new fees for services at the Perry Municipal Airport, providing for repeal or savings, codification, severability, effective dates, and declaring an emergency.
Motion on emergency.
Second.
Roll call.
Goldar.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Gilbeck.
Yes.
Iker.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Wines.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Letter B, ordinance number 2019-24, the City Council of the City of Perry, Oklahoma, amending Chapter 12 of the Perry Municipal Code 2018 Supplement by the addition of a new section 12-248 entitled New Manufactured Home Regulations, providing for definition, procedure, and criteria, committee determination and appeals, appropriate zoning district, and violations, providing for the amendment of section 12-251 by the addition of a new subsection 17, providing that the new manufactured homes are a permitted use in the AG Agriculture District, providing for the amendment of section 12-261 by the addition of a new permitted use, providing that the new manufactured homes are permitted use in RG Residential District, providing for repeal or savings, clause, codification, severability, penalty, declaring an emergency.
Motion on emergency.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Goldar.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Gilbeck.
Yes. Sorry, yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Wines. Yes.
Yes, thank you. C is ordinance number 2019-26, amending the zoning from its current zoning of C1 Light Commercial Zoning District to C2 General Commercial District, and providing the site plan for the real property located at 728 Fur, Perry, Oklahoma 73077, with a legal description of tract of land being a part of Lot 8, Block 8 of the original town site of Perry in City of Perry, Noble County, Oklahoma, more particularly described as following: beginning at the southwest corner of Lot 8, thence north, east, along the west side of the Lot 8, a distance of 163 feet, 0.16 feet, to the northwest corner of Lot 8, thence northeast along the north line of Lot 8, in a distance of 18 feet to a set magnel with the aluminum washer stamped boundaries CA 6403. In a distance of 63.15 feet to a set magnel with a aluminum washer stamped boundaries of CA 6403 on the south line of Lot 8. And along the south line of Lot 8, a distance of 18 feet to the point beginning and containing 0.0 acres more or less in the south 62.5 feet of Lot 9 and 10 Block 8, original town site of Perry, Noble County, Oklahoma, according to the record plat. Therefore, in the north 100 feet of Lot 9 and 10 Block 8, original town site of Perry, Noble County, Oklahoma, according to the record that plat. Therefore, the real property savings, severability, repealer, and declaring an emergency.
Move to approve emergency clause.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Goldar.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Gilbeck.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall. Yes. White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Wines. Yes. Stroller.
Yes. Could you draw a map of that, Counselor?
There's a map.
I said, could you draw a map of that?
I might get the angles a little wrong.
Okay.
You better get that .16 in there.
It's
Draw on
important.
that.
It's important.
Item number 10. Consider approval of ordinance number 2019-27, the City Council of the City of Perry, Oklahoma, providing for an amendment to Chapter 18 of the Perry Municipal Code 2018 supplement by the amendment of Section 5-106 entitled Building Permit and Other Fees, providing for a new building permit, plan review, inspection, and other fees by the repeal of the current Section 5-106 to the Chapter 18 by the amendment of Section 5-204C by the amendment of Section 5-306 by the amendment of Section 5-404C, providing for different inspection fees for plumbing, electrical, mechanical inspection, respectively, providing for repealer, savings, codification, severability, penalty, and declaring emergency. This is the ordinance that was brought to us at the last council meeting that we tabled, with all the new fees, for our inspections. Larry, would you like to address this issue?
One of the things we've been trying to do is to match our fees with the current cost that we have for these inspections. I think that this is fair based upon what we have right now with our cost structure. And we're certainly open to suggestions. Some places they're $20 and that almost costs, almost covers it. Sometimes it's 70 and that does cover it, plus a little bit. But we're open to suggestions. It is definitely time for us to reevaluate and set our new fee structure based upon the inspections.
Council?
Well, I personally am still struggling with it. I took it home with me last time, read through it, and firstly, I think we need to encourage people to build homes and remodel and work on things, and to me, this doesn't necessarily help that. I understand that as a city, we can't lose money on our inspections, but I don't want to hinder people from being able to do those remodels and make the houses here nicer. So I was wondering, outside of this, is there other options? Is there other companies that we could get a better deal with on these inspections? What other options do we have? And what?
Dirk, I think that's good. I think that's a good comment, and I think just today we've hired a new building official in training, building inspector in training. And one of the things we were trying to do here is where the big money was, it was plan design, and we didn't have this in place for the school. So, we ate that, and we didn't have it in place for Sonic, and we didn't have it in place for Tractor Supply. And gee, wouldn't it be great if we had another one coming? Wouldn't that be fantastic? We'd probably all vote not to have it in place for them either if someone would come. But I think in the next 6 months, Craig is going to be teaching the new guy. And since the new guy's on staff, the prices may not be there. So a legitimate, but not to say that these aren't the ones. And I put the ordinance together. Because it was clearly indicative of what we've been paying. But if the council wanted to take the position that we've got a new guy in training, and we're going to see what those costs might be in a few more months when he gets up and trained. Let's take another look at them in a few months. That wouldn't be a bad way to go. You asked for an option. That's an option.
I do want to finish that statement there with. I do think possibly there needs to be some changes around commercial with what happened, right? And we realize that potentially that costs us more as a city than residential does as a whole, right?
Right.
So I'm not saying that we don't look at the commercial, even afterwards if we do reduce the cost with that option.
Okay. Well, we can bring it back however you would like it. Just, note that, didn't he start today?
Yes.
Yeah. The new employee started today and he's kind of in training in that position, and that wouldn't bear, these fees because it's all in-house. Of course, the employment needs to work out and, and we need to make sure he can get trained. But that is another fact that we didn't have here I guess I knew he was coming, but I didn't know, he's on the payroll today.
So is the long-range plan then to transition Craig out?
Yes. Which is fine with Craig.
Yeah.
That's really all he would like to do is commercial, but we would like to have someone that's in-house. Actually, we would like to have two folks that are cross-trained in code enforcement and also in residential inspection. In case one's gone, we can go ahead and tell the customer he's gone, but I have someone else that can come out and do that for you. For commercial, that's a little bit more problematic. I wish these folks were a dime a dozen. That would make everybody's life a whole lot easier, and not just for Perry, but for everybody that has a municipality that has this kind of need. And we're glad we have these needs. I look at these problems as growing pains and opportunities for us to go in and see how are we current in our fees, are we current in our ordinances, or in current and you just passed a whole bunch of from emergency standpoint, exactly things that we've been dealing with when they come down the pike, and we haven't seen those in a long time. Let's open it up. Let's see how current we are. How modern are we? Are we in line with everybody else? So that's the long-range plan. We think the goal is probably to have them up and running, totally trained in 6 months, and then starting to get Craig out of the way. He's building his own firm. He's very successful in that, and we have two guys that are here ready to serve our customers. We don't have to worry about whether someone's down in Purcell, over in Okarche, or something like that. We'd like to have a faster response and a response that's that day.
How many times a week or a month, or, I don't know, how often would you say that we're backed up without one?
Right now with Craig, we're not, mainly because he's willing to come from wherever he is to service the customer. Our original agreement was he'd be here Tuesday and Thursday in the morning from 9 to 12. There are times when he's here all day on both days, and there's times when he comes in on other days. If the ladies in the front office tell him that someone's called, you called, let's say you need an inspection, he'll get here as soon as possible.
Can I ask a question in regard to clarity? I was looking here, this is just, I don't want to be nitpicky, but it's just maybe a common example. I'm looking here, it says water heater replacement, $70. So I'm an elderly person, my water heater goes out, I call a licensed plumber to come fix it. What's the procedure?
Even though it's a licensed plumber, it still needs to be inspected.
So I'm gonna have to pay for my water heater, the licensed plumber, and then $70 for somebody even though they're licensed. This is the issue that Derek and I know Derek you've brought up before, where it seems to me, I'm not highly knowledgeable about this, that there's some duplication of what's happening. If you were to bring people in that were not licensed, trained plumbers, I have no problem with inspections. But why should a resident have to pay an additional $70 fee when they've hired a licensed, trained person to install that?
And that's a good point, and for them to be licensed,
That's the point of
that's
licensing
the only
them.
way, yeah, they can do business.
Not
And
to-
that-
not
that's
to be Bridges'
$70.
apprentice, and you have to pay for him too, so.
That $70 for any of us is a lot, but just take an elderly person on a fixed income and a water heater goes out, that's a big cost. You bring a plumber in, a licensed plumber, let me tell you, that's a big cost too. And then I gotta pay another $70 on top of that. You're looking anything, I don't know what a water heater runs, but a few $100s. And I can tell you the plumber's gonna be a few $100s too.
I believe
you-
it was $10 before, if I remember right.
Well, that's, I mean, I don't know what it was.
Basically a permit before, that's it.
Yeah, so that, I'm just using that as an example where I struggle with those kind of additional kinds of fees, particularly when it gets down to that residential, you know, that resident level, where you're paying that $70 for somebody to come out for 1 or 2 minutes, it looks good to me.
Well, we,
What?
where I struggle with it is that our, you know, we're paying our inspectors somewhere around $75 an hour,
Right.
okay? He drives out to your home, looks at your water heater, so it looks good to me.
1 minute.
And we're there 5 minutes and you just got charged $70.
Yeah.
And this was a different inspector, so I'm not knocking any current people or anything, but the last time I had to replace mine, the plumbers took a picture and sent it to him.
Yeah.
And I still had to pay, it would have been $70 after this for a picture.
Bryce, what would be the appropriate time to not let this get away from us, but to table it? Or remove it from the agenda for, 90 days, and Larry's, if I heard him right, said that in 6 months we'd have someone fully trained. So 90 days isn't enough, is it?
That might be the period of time. You know, I think on this issue, the further exasperation is that, you know, 9 out of 10 people just replace it themselves.
Exactly.
Won't have a plumber.
Won't get a permit.
Won't get a permit, won't charge it, and it may not be vented properly, and it may be a problem. But, you know,
And you're gonna see
And they
that,
especially
you're gonna
may do
see
that
that
with
more.
$70.
Huh?
And you may see that
Yeah.
more with $70
That's what
versus
encourages
10.
it.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying, yeah.
yeah, so,
Put my $70 to.
In here, it's under section 5306 electrical code, contractor registration, $50 annually. So not gonna require, I don't understand why the electrical contractor has an annual registration fee, but your plumber doesn't have a registration fee. Why is it just the electric?
it's somewhere else, it's provided. Yeah, they do. Electric has it here, has an annual fee on page 5. Mechanical, yeah, they have it under another section. I didn't put everything here, because on some of them, some of them had permit fees. Everyone has a registration fee. And that registration fee it's a lot like our alcohol licenses, you know, where you can charge 1,000, but we charge 100. You know, you can charge, I think, 300 here, and we charge 50. You know, so we do give, breaks to contractors because we want contractors to be here. You know, it used to be that, this was 34 years ago, shows my age, but every city would license their own plumbers. And in order to get licensed, there was no state licensing of any kind. And you had to be licensed in Perry and Enid, Stillwater, and you had to follow their scheme. So then the state came over, took over all licensing, but allowed the city to collect the registration in their community, but set that fee at the same fee that the license cost. And at least in this city, we've lowered that fee in order to permit a lot of contractors come. So, but no, there's permit fees there across the board. I just didn't give you everything that is in the code.
I would like, as myself, I would like to see us not consider this until it's 90 days or 120 days down the road, until we get the new gentleman trained and see how he's working out.
I would entertain the commercial side, you know, some of these things I don't completely understand on the charges, but
Yeah,
but as
I
far as the
agree.
residents go,
I agree with you.
Well, the ratio, I think where I struggle, I'm like you, I don't even understand, you know, like square foot per whatever, but if I'm building a $100,000 house and the fee is raised $750, the ratio of that is not that great. But for $70 for a water heater, that's a lot of, that's a greater ratio for an individual than it is for a larger project. Again, I don't wanna discourage new construction and all that, I just don't feel very knowledgeable in that area of like, you know, it's this plus this square foot plus times, you know,
I think we wanna encourage our residents, and I think we all agree to do it the right way.
yes.
Right,
And I think this causes them to not do it the right way.
possibly, yeah.
Plus, it's confusing too, you know, if you're gonna do a, say, a remodel, I mean, are you paying the remodel and then I have to pay for this electrical? I mean, it's just not very clear as a resident either what you're,
It looked
What we
like there
should be
could be 7
budgeting.
inspections there on a new build.
right,
I can't remember the exact dollar amount, but it was substantial.
yeah.
I think that we might have our rate too high, agreed to too high of a rate with the inspector we got now versus what the new guy we hired. And we probably didn't realize the amount of inspections we were gonna be doing. And now we're incurring a lot of cost and we got this, you know, Craig. I'm not saying he's not doing his job, I'm just saying there's a lot of inspections at that rate, $75 an hour versus hiring somebody that costs us $16.50 an hour, you know? And
Well, a lot of
so,
that sounds like it's travel time too, so if you had somebody that was on staff, at least that's some of that money that we're not gonna have to incur for travel.
Correct, yeah.
so, what would we like to do with, item number 10?
I'd like to make a motion to table it for 120 days.
Second.
Would we like to,
Well, there's a motion,
What-
and
what's-
there's a motion and a second.
now we have further discussion.
Yes.
Would we like to amend that to say that we would like for staff to reevaluate the commercial side?
Or the residential side?
I'd be
are
fine.
You happy with the commercial side? Is it the residential side that gives us heartburn, or?
The residential side's the one that gives me the most heartburn.
I mean, to me, the residential side, you know, we're always talking how we want people to come here, and we have all kinds of little things like this that really discourage it.
I see that side. I guess from my perspective, like I said, on the commercial side, I don't 100% understand what possible costs would be there, but maybe we do need to reevaluate, because we know those costs are gonna stay in inspection. And it just bid us at, I can't remember the dollar, was it 8,000 last meeting? But
$6,900 and some dollars, or maybe for the school project.
yeah, for the school project, so of unforeseen costs. And maybe we do something where we, I mean, I think that needs more evaluation too. I don't know if it's this right here, or if it's something else that we do to keep those costs from biting us.
Well, our inspector that we're training, is he gonna be able to do commercial and residential?
I don't know that.
Yes.
Because,
But
I mean, really, you wanna be attractive for businesses to come in too, and I understand that we're losing money now, so that's not exactly what you want as these businesses come in, but of course, we've already paid it for the school. We've already probably incurred and ate the cost for the Sonic, I don't know about Tractor Supply, but I don't know how many other businesses we plan on getting between now and 120 days, but it may be worth making sure that we understand what those costs are too, because again, we need more businesses to come here.
yes,
Unless we pass it like it is and then go back and amend it again, but that doesn't seem like something that we all want to
so,
spend that time doing.
I'd like to get it right the first time.
yeah, I'd rather get it right. And I just want to clarify, so did we not say that Craig was gonna stay on doing commercial? Even after?
Craig will stay on until we get the other guy trained, and then he will go away.
Even for commercial? Okay, I
Even commercial,
misunderstood.
yeah. So we'll have two folks that's trained to do residential inspection and one for commercial. And when you look at Craig's last list of what he did with last month when he did 10,000 and change, most of that was residential. As far as the number of
Oh, yeah.
inspections, not
Smaller
the
dollars.
cost.
The cost, yeah,
Not the
cost.
Smaller dollars.
We're just saying, we've got, 30 residential and 5 commercial. And commercial is where the cost is, but,
Well, if that's the case, then I think the first motion is fine.
I agree.
How long has the current fee structure been in place?
Forever. I mean for decades. I can't remember changing it in a very long time.
For the residential too?
Yes. And that is because Perry has been, on building fees, has been very, very light, trying to, encourage development. Of course, forever, we didn't have issued 3 house building permits a year, and we're now issuing the permits. There was just a time when we didn't issue anything. Right?
We are issuing more, but we actually were issuing more probably a year ago, and they've really dropped off.
Right. Oh, but I'm talking about
But prior to
as of
that, yeah,
in the
there weren't
past.
many
Well,
at all.
you all know you live here. How many new homes have been built,
Yeah.
Well, in the Fairway Edition alone, my gosh, our streets are like a super highway right now with construction vehicles. So,
We reviewed plans for another house that's coming
it's
out there.
it's crazy. The speeding and all that, but I'm glad to see people coming in.
Certainly
And
is
yes,
what-
I have talked to Mr. Thomas, and he's well aware of it, but, you notice all this a lot more. You notice the traffic on 15th, coming up that dirt road, the speed limit's 45, and they're blazing a path. So, it's really grown out that way, but the traffic is incredibly grown.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second to table for 120 days. Roll call, please.
Colner?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Dillbeck?
Yes.
Ahern?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Morrow?
Yes.
Wines?
Yes.
Stroller?
Yes, thank you very much. Great discussion. Item number 11, approval of change order number 4 in the ODOT sidewalk project in the amount of $68,774.57 for curbing and retaining walls and pipe railing and 10 additional workdays. In the background down there, it says that the city is responsible for 20%, so we're not paying the 68,000, we're responsible for 20% of that. Which is, what'd you say, Mary, 13,000?
13,000 something?
When Sonia comes
Some change.
Yes.
I didn't quite get that far.
13,000. Works.
Any questions? Any discussion?
Motion to approve the change order.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Colner?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Dillbeck?
Yes.
Ahern?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Morrow?
Yes.
Wines?
Yes.
Stroller?
Yes, thank you. And that's on silent. Item number 12, consider approval of ordinance number 2019-28 of the City Council of the City of Perry, Oklahoma pertaining to the Graceland Cemetery, amending chapter 18 of the Perry Municipal Code, the 2018 supplement, entitled Fee Schedule by the amendment of section 11-211 entitled Grace Hill Cemetery Fee Schedules, subsection 1, 2, and 5, providing for increasing the purchase price for infant and child, grave sites and pertaining, or an opening and closing of infant and child grave sites which are located outside the baby land, providing for repealer savings, codification, severability, effective dates, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Kennedy had a great story about this. Bryce, would you like to?
No, I'm not gonna tell you.
No, I don't mean that.
Not that story, the other story.
The other story.
The one that we can air.
Well, the grave sites in Babyland are smaller than the regular grave sites, and if if you're selling a larger space, you should pay a larger space. And I'm told that the cost that we're charged to open and close those groups, we're charged what, 400?
I believe that's correct. Well,
Yeah.
Unless it's a weekend, then
Unless-
it's more, it's
Yeah,
fine.
and then it's more. So, I mean, we're not even making money there for what we're charging somebody to come in and to cut that out. I mean, we're just pretty much paying that over. You have to remember that the purchase of a gravesite is perpetual care, you know, so it's fairly cheap. You know, once you buy the site, we have to take care of it for eternally, you know, perpetually. And so that's what this is. The sexton recommended this, so we put this on the agenda. Now, I will tell you that a part of the cost of the graves goes into the perpetual care fund that we have here, that we have out there to assist with that. I don't know how much this comes up, but
And this is for services just down to Babyland.
Yeah,
that's correct. I mean, Babyland stays all the same. It's just outside.
Why aren't they suggesting just to make the plot smaller and keep same size?
They're all surveyed.
Oh, so
I mean, they're all
predetermined.
designated,
yeah, they're
yeah.
all pretty
And,
charming.
and they're all in computers and they're all in books. I mean, you know,
Makes sense.
That's- Keep all the headstones in a row, you know. What would you like to do, council?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2019-28.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Kildare,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Dilbeck,
Yes.
Ahern,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Item 13, consider approval of grant, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Motion on emergency.
Oh, there is down there, okay,
Second.
yeah. Roll call, please.
Kildare,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Dilbeck,
Yes.
Ahern,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
White, Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Item 13, consider approval of grant agreement with the Malzahn Family Affiliated Fund of the Oklahoma City Community Foundation. This is the committee that Larry and Jamie and I sit on, and this is a grant agreement that we had to agree to with them so we could receive our $520,000.
Just curious, why is the school stuff on the city and not on like the school's request?
You talking about the resource officer?
Yeah, the resource officer and the signage.
Uh,
The signage is on city streets.
Oh, okay.
The resource officer, that was something that we'd agreed to earlier on. Basically, it's the same figure that we used for last year for the school. We've amended that since then, so, but this is for our part that we asked for.
Okay.
The school, we've, and the American can add on to this, we've entered into a potential proposal that we'd like to bring to you.
As the representative on that team from the council side, the last time we all talked, so Bill and Larry and you and I got together with Russ, and there were some things that we were still negotiating on before we turned this back in, because they wanted some clarity. The resource officer was one of those, because the school is also on there, and so are we, and so we were trying to decide who is responsible for turning in that money. And I thought that we were still supposed to get back together and discuss that. Originally it was 80, and we backed that down to 40, but we were still negotiating on the 40.
We were hoping that.
And I don't know, I didn't have that discussion with you guys, and I know I've been out of town for work, but I guess I'm a little out of the loop as well.
This needs to be redone, and actually, and I think that probably what Bill would like to do, not speaking for him, would be table this, and let's bring it back at another time with
Yeah,
I
there's-
strongly agree to that too,
There's-
'cause
you're
I know
right-
that
you're
we have
right.
the 520, but there's a couple other projects that we said, if we didn't have to do the resource, there's other things, I mean, obviously, they're gonna grant us the $520,000, we need that as a city. I just think we need to be upfront with them on where we're gonna use it, and make sure that everybody
When-
hears
when
where
you
we're
look at-
gonna use it.
What they had asked for is for us to present basically what we needed right now, basically before the April 2020
I agree,
new tranche.
right.
Okay, so this is everything that we had asked for before April 2020. It's just that we had, I'm sorry, but we had just taken out some stuff that we needed right now instead of, and maybe wait till the spring.
Right,
Yeah,
I
instead
agree
of
with
that,
that, I'm
so-
just saying the 520, we said we weren't sure, there was some other things, if we weren't going to do the full 40 for the police officer, there's other things that we could replace that
Right.
$40,000.
There,
with. And we
this
were
is,
supposed to be
this
back
is
together.
pretty, you're right, Jamie, you're exactly right. This is the, pretty close to the original list. We met, there's things on this list that we cut off, and we agreed that we were gonna try to get back to the 520 with some other
Right.
projects. And then this list got submitted to the Malzahn Fund, okay? Nancy Anthony, I know you guys don't know Nancy, Nancy Anthony is on the committee with us. She is the go-between between us and the fund. So she takes our information and goes, presents it to the fund, and they approve it or disapprove it. It's not the Perry Community Group that gets to make that approval. And so, I had some heartache, I'll say I did it, I had some heartache with the fact that we were submitting a grant agreement that wasn't accurate in my eyes. And what Ed and Mary Malzahn have done for this town and that Malzahn family is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I could never ever dream that we would have this kind of support from that family. And in no way would I ever want to misrepresent something to that family. I think we have to have it accurate.
I agree, and that was
And
not,
so,
that certainly wasn't my
hang on,
intent at all.
hang on, I didn't say it was. I would like to table this. I have met with Dr. McCarty, the superintendent, and we've come to a new agreement for the resource officer. And we'll just table this and get this right. And Nancy herself asked me on Friday when I talked to her that not to submit a grant, that the priority list was not a list that this council would approve. So I have to have a list that you guys will approve before we ever submit that. And that was her wishes. And so we want to honor that.
So you guys will get back together and get that,
Yep.
so I'll make a motion to table it until you guys have had a chance to meet.
And that will be real soon.
Get that back together and get it to us.
Second.
What's wrong with this one?
There's just
Well, it's
there's things on here that we're not ready for.
One of those, like, for example, it shows the resource officer, which we want to make sure that we have police on at all the campuses to be able, or that can be available to go to the campuses. And so that was for that, but we're still negotiating with the school to find out which portion we're responsible for. So if it's really not 40,000 that we're gonna
Then we
be
could put it
responsible
towards
for,
something else.
then we could put it towards something else. And I feel like we should be upfront about where that something else is going. Or if it is, or maybe it is the 40, but until we really know that, I don't think it's fair to put a grant in front of them that may change, or in front of any of us that we say that we're gonna put $40,000 towards a resource that we aren't going to put $40,000 towards.
On the next page, on page 6, there's generators there. It's a FEMA grant they're working on. Okay. Larry himself cut that. He said that we're not ready for that, you know, with the grant situation. And so, and then now it's back on this agreement. And so, I don't think it's anyone's fault. I don't wanna take blame it on anyone. I don't wanna disrespect those people. And so I just say we just stop right now and just agree that we'll redo this. We got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Fuller.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Dilbeck. Yes. Eckert.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Wines.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Now for another exciting one. Item number 14, discussion on ending garbage waivers. Those of you that were not at our last meeting, we had a pretty lengthy discussion on this. It goes towards, we have people in our community that don't wanna pay garbage. Say there was a gentleman that come in and he had a home that he has full utilities in, and he pays for trash and garbage on that bill. Well, then he has a house right next door that he's bought. He actually has two lots. One of them, the house has been tore down, it's level, there's no structure there, so of course he doesn't have to pay utilities on that lot. The house next door, he just kinda uses as a knick-knack storage building. He doesn't feel like he has to pay garbage for that building. You know, he's not creating any garbage there. Well, we have businesses on the square that use their building for storage. I don't wanna pay garbage. So they come in and sign waivers. And, you know, we're actually in the business of selling utilities. And, I know on the square, there can be, correct me if I'm wrong, Dixie, 3 businesses can share one dumpster, or is it 2?
You can do it either way. You can split it in half or you can split it in thirds.
Yeah, so if there's 3 businesses over there, they can share that dumpster. I know we've got a business on the square that has an off-site business, so they don't wanna pay garbage on the square, they wanna take their garbage from there to an off-site business and dispose of it there. And that's a problem. Do they really do that? I mean, we have no way of really monitoring that, you know? So, and I guess through Autumn's talk last council meeting, it becomes kind of a problem for her in accounting, trying to keep track of who has waivers and who doesn't have waivers, and the waiver expires and it comes out and on their bill, then they got garbage, and then they're mad because I got a waiver and they gotta come in and sign new waivers, and it ultimately, I mean, I see everything each way, you know, but ultimately, we're in the business of selling services. And Davis Sanitation charges us a set amount every month to pick up the garbage. He doesn't do it per trash can. He just does it so much a month. And so it takes all those trash cans to pay that bill. And so if we start waiving trash service, then we're gonna be back in the same predicament we're in with some of this other stuff. We're not making our payments, you know? I talked to Bryce today, I said, maybe if you own 2 houses beside each other, maybe you only pay garbage on one house. I mean, we can set the structure how we want. If you own 2 businesses on the square, side by side, I guess ultimately you'd still have to pay for a dumpster or something, but I wanna open this up to discussion and have y'all's input.
Dixie, remind me, what's the fee for garbage for resident commercial on our bills? I mean, it's 2 different fees, isn't it?
It's 2 different fees.
What's it for resident, like a one home? Am I putting
$18?
$18.
Autumn's 19, I think.
19?
19.
Say Autumn does the billing. She has.
So, and then what is it for commercial?
Commercial for just user furnished.
For what, I'm sorry?
User furnished their own trash can.
No, like my dumpster behind my building.
Oh, your dumpster? A full dumpster is like $67, but if you pay a third, you're only gonna pay like $22.
Okay.
User furnished is $23, so you're actually paying less to share a third of a dumpster. And then
Do you use polycarts on commercial also?
polycarts are like 27, I believe.
Is there, I don't know if I dreamed this up, we've had this discussion several times before. Is there an ordinance that does not allow for storage in a vacant building on the square if a person owns that building? I don't know where this came up in my mind.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about here. We gotta
No,
stick to
but
the.
it's part of what we're talking here, as far as trash.
It's, It's not a permitted use. It could be a use permitted by review. I think that's the issue, but no one has pushed it with the owners.
Any other input?
How many, do you know how many waivers we have?
How many waivers?
Yeah, like, how many people we have that are not paying?
At any given time, we can have between 15 and 30 waivers at a time.
Are those
A lot
permanent
have-
waivers?
A lot have expired recently, and some of them we haven't reissued until we go through council and figure out what we wanna do.
Well, I know you were saying that it's a real headache to keep track of that stuff, but, I mean, what if what if we just had a maximum amount? Like, if we can only have this many waivers, and after that, where's the cutoff?
Yeah, but how's that fair?
Well, I don't know. That'd just be a way of it overrunning it, so, you know what I mean?
How many total customers do we have that we pay utilities?
We got 2,500 resident meters. How many commercial meters we got?
Roughly 300 maybe.
So let's say 2,800 to 3,000.
It's 1 to 5% of our total customers sign waivers.
How many permanent waivers do you have?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Well, I mean, this is including like vacant lots and things like that, or, just, but it's like, accounts that aren't paying for garbage, probably, I would say at least 100.
They have like legitimate, like there's nobody living there, and there's no utilities there, or is it just?
Yeah, it's things like, okay, suddenly, obviously, they have a pole, they don't pay garbage, or like, the storage units are questionable, they don't pay garbage. So that's one questionable one, as far as should they have a permanent waiver or not.
That's really questionable.
They could create some garbage.
I mean,
Yeah.
people move out and they're like, oh, we're not even taking this. And then
Yeah.
it's just there.
So to have a waiver, to have a waiver, they have no utilities on in the business, or they do?
They do. Yeah, because they can turn all of their services off. I mean, we'd have people who temporarily turn their service off, maybe if they don't need it, but, then they can turn it back on, and then we disconnect everything. That's how we do our landlord accounts. But the people who are signing the waivers have electric and water on usually.
No, you called around to some municipalities around and asked if they did garbage waivers. And some of those are in addition, some of those are not listed on the 4th paragraph here under background. Which ones did you call?
I called Morrison, Tonkawa, Stillwater, Enid, and there's one more close by, I can't remember which one.
Okay, and some of those are listed here, but, and they don't do garbage waivers.
None of them even, acted like they knew what a garbage waiver was. And they said basically if they have service, they pay garbage. And except for Enid, who's the only one, but they don't have a form. They have to call every month if they want it waived. And they will look at their usage to see if they've used anything. If they have, then they may deny it. But if they haven't used anything, so if it's like a realtor or something like that, just has it on for a month or two, they may decide to waive that, but they do have to call every single month so that they can look at their usage to see if they're using it or not.
Now, Bryce, you called somebody, correct?
No, Autumn called everyone. Well, if you remember something, tell me.
You said you called Margaret Love and she said, what?
Oh,
A what?
well, yeah, I spoke to Margaret Love, and Margaret Love said that in all of her communities, she knows of no waivers. She says that, you know, the collection of garbage is a matter of the health, safety, welfare of the community, and, you know, if you want to live in the city, you need to pay. I mean, that's what, you know, that's what she said. She does represent, you know, a number of cities, but this is your city. You can structure it, you know, however you want to. It's just, and I would say in Enid is the one city here that actually, Enid does the collecting and Enid takes to its landfill. So, you know, it's utility. It doesn't have an electric utility. It has a garbage utility, water and sewer. So that's where they get some of their dollars. I think that Autumn says that one of the real problems is keeping up with it. See, I mean, if you actually look at our garbage services, you know, the Davis will go out and dump those dumpsters however many times they need to be dumped. And you only need to pay for whatever you think it needs to be dumped. So, you know, if you pay for one time, but they're dumping it 4 times a week, hee-haw for the consumer, you know. And I'm sure that there's some of that going, on. There's a lot more work, but Davis has contracted for, you know, to haul all the garbage. And there's not, because there's not that close coordination between who's creating the garbage, how many dumps will it take, and whether we're making that revenue. Now, that may be a place where we could, you know, make some additional revenue if we had that coordinated better, and make some business owners more upset, you know, by charging them more. If we actually, you know, we're charging them more for the same thing as what they're getting. But, you know, what we really set out here is, you know, we never really did lay out what our policy was on garbage waivers. It's only ever been a, you know, word of mouth. There's nothing in the code about it. And Autumn is the one in charge of billing. And Autumn is very firm that we need to end garbage waivers. There would be waivers. I mean, if, I think it's set out here in the second to last paragraph on page 6. If it's a vacant lot, they're not charged a garbage fee. If it's a house or other structure with no utilities, they're not charged a garbage fee. If it's new construction, they have a roll-off off there, they're not going to be charged a garbage fee. Bill talked about, you know, another exception, which is residential service, where the property owner owns both lots or both buildings. And I think you'd have to change that to one of them is not being used as a residence, which would take in the gentleman who spoke to us at the last meeting. However, that is hard to keep up with because, you know, that can change. And that, of course, could be, I suppose, monitored if it was Enid has a every month call in. You know, we were going 6 months at a time.
6 months to a year, depending on
6
the
months
situation.
to a year at a time. But I think that, quite frankly, what Councilperson Marshall's pointed out is this is just one very small segment of all the solid waste users who are getting away, or however you want to say it, with not contributing to the solid waste collection and disposal costs. And is that fair? So, I know this is one time we just.
If they're not using it.
I know, I mean, I'm sure that guy's gonna be back, cause he came in to try to get away from having to sign a waiver every year. Now he's gonna be like, what do you mean you did away with waivers? That's not what I asked for. I'm sure he's gonna be back.
Oh, you know, and there's
And
other
others.
people that take
The
it
whole
from one
1%.
business to the other, that take it from their business to their house, that just don't think that it's fair. Now, I suppose what you could do is you could have a purchase waiver. You know, you buy your waiver, right? It costs
I like this.
$150 a year. Now, there's a
Opt out.
discount to it, it's
You can opt
discounted.
out of trash.
You know, it's discounted, it's less than what they would have paid. But if you want a waiver, you buy it up front.
Well, we have
And so
an
that-
opt-out for AMI.
Huh?
We have an opt-out for AMI.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like an opt,
Basically the same
it's,
thing.
it's like an opt-out for AMI. If you want a waiver, you can buy it. And it's at a discount to what it is because we're not picking it up. But if you want one, you buy one. Now,
I'm worried that we come and say, okay, we'll do waivers, and it'll come out of the woodwork now. You know,
it might.
and it won't be 15 or 30.
And she's gonna have heart failure.
Yeah. You need a better program. But, I mean, I see that, I see the reason for it. I see the reason not for it. But
Well, my
we're a
feeling
council
is
here, so we need to make a decision of some kind.
we spend
some
a
kind
lot of
traffic.
energy and time on a very small percentage of situations. In my opinion, if you're, just as an example, you're a commercial business owner in downtown Square, there's no such thing as a waiver. By providing a waiver, all you're doing is encouraging them to continue to store things there. You need to pay, just like everybody else, or that's gonna be a storage facility forever. When it gets into all these situations in the community, my analogy last time is gonna be the same analogy tonight. You go to OSU, now, this isn't OSU, but we're part of a community. You cannot pick and choose the fees that you want to pay, even if you don't use them. Well, I don't use the library. You still get to pay for the library. And that's how the university operates. There's less administrative function, there's less monitoring of that, and you're encouraged to use the library, as we would encourage our residents and our commercial users to use the trash for sanitary reasons. So my suggestion is we do away with waivers. Or I'm okay with what's listed in here. I know there are some exceptions, but in general, I'm not in favor of trying to manage that by any means at all.
I have a poly card at my house. I pay whatever you said, $18 or $19 for it. And then also at my farm, which has nothing to do with the city of Perry, I have a $50 dumpster a month. It costs me $50 to have that dumpster sit there. I could bring my trash from the farm to town and put it in my dumpster or my poly card at home, or my place of employment has a dumpster that they pay for, which gets very little trash in it. I could fill that thing up. But I take responsibility for my actions and pay $50 for a dumpster at the farm. You know, and I just feel like that's the same example we're here. People wanting to take their trash from one place to place B, A to place B to throw their trash away, or storage, or you know.
As a
If you're gonna own a business, a
Yeah.
building, and it's not gonna deter, let's say $20 a month or whatever it costs for a third of a dumpster on the square, that's not gonna stop them from being a storage unit.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But they still need to pay the fee.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all sorts of problems. I mean, this weekend I had a guy who pulled up to my dumpster and he completely took everything out of his pickup and filled up my dumpster. Happens all the time, and I'm not the only one that happens to on the square. So, I mean, I don't know how you stop that, but I'm just saying, to me, this is a no-brainer. Just stop the waivers, except for maybe these exceptions. Make it easy on the administrative side. If you're gonna be a resident of the community, you're gonna be a business owner, you're gonna have to pay fees.
Is that the form of a no motion?
I'll make that motion, thank you. Is this an ordinance, or is this?
No, it's just a policy, because there is no policy.
So just to
You
make
know.
a motion to approve this policy?
Yeah, this becomes
As
the new,
written?
this becomes the policy.
Okay, that would be my motion then.
Would we bring it back in an ordinance, or just leave it as a
Please,
policy?
let's not bring it back. If we can get something decided.
So is
I
the
mean, we
policy
could,
like
but
for
I mean,
next
but this is really direction to the manager. I mean, you know,
It's been my problem the whole time that I've been here. That every month, Autumn brings me waivers, and I have to decide whether to approve or not to approve.
And there's no
whether it's 6 months or a
criteria.
year. And I keep saying, every month, where's the okay from council to do this? And we can't find anything. So that's the whole reason for bringing this up at this particular time anyway. Give me some direction. Let's put it in, let's memorialize it so I have, and staff has some way, some direction from you guys.
So Jeanette, go ahead and ask your question.
That this next to last paragraph here is what our policy will be.
Yes.
Yes.
So in the case of the gentleman that was here, he would have 2 out of 3? Is that what
He'd have 2 out of 3, unless you wanted to provide the, you know, this other, exception. You know, if you own 2 structures side by side, you know, but, you know, then there's gonna be the person that owns the structure across the street, you know? And it just goes on and on, so. But he'll be back, cause he told us that he wasn't gonna
Not
pay.
paying yet.
Not paying, yes. Heavy emphasis on not.
And I'll tell you how that works, just so that you know. As you pay on your bill, there's I wrote an ordinance which provides how money gets credited to your account. And it doesn't matter how you intend to credit it to your account. Like, I'm paying for electric here, I'm not paying for garbage, I'm not paying the drainage fee. It doesn't matter how you elect to pay it. There's an order in which we pay as the money comes in, okay? And it pays in a certain order. And so the bottom line is, you know, you can't opt to, you know, if you put not garbage, it's garbage is one of the, as I remember, one of the early ones that it gets credited to. I mean, you'll end up having your electric and or water turned off.
Any further discussion? All right, we'll move.
Well,
we have to vote.
well, yeah, we have a motion.
Oh, we do have a motion. Who
Do we have a
seconded?
second? I haven't
Oh, I'm
heard a
sorry.
Second.
Can you clarify your motion, please, exactly?
I'll do my best.
That's why I'm
Dixie,
asking.
wanna read it back?
No, I make a motion to approve the policy with the paragraph that starts with vacant lots will not be charged a garbage fee, and ending at the end of that paragraph where it says March 2020 utility bill. That would be the policy for the garbage waivers or non-garbage waivers, however you want to define it.
You second
I'll
that?
still second that, yeah.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Colner,
No.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Dilbeck,
Yes.
Ahern,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White,
No.
Morrell,
Yes.
Wines,
No.
Stroller.
Yes. Motion passes. Okay, item number 15, I'll go ahead and read this in the record. Consider approval of the following purchases, waiving the application for competitive bidding ordinances provided by section 7-114 as noted for certain purchases for the reason as provided. Okay, all these items on item 15 are pertaining to the Malzahn Fund. So we need to table this. Without that money, we can't make those purchases.
So moved.
Jerry? All right. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Colner,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Dilbeck,
Yes.
Ahern,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Morrell,
Yes.
Wines,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Item 16, consider approval of ordinance number 2019-29, the City Council of the City of Perry, Oklahoma, amending Chapter 13, Article 1 of the Perry Municipal Code 2018 supplement by the amendment of subsection C4A to section 13-104 by reducing the acres limitation from 5 to 4, wherein bulk storage of liquefied petroleum gases can be permitted, providing for repealer savings, codification, severability, penalty, and declaring an emergency. This pertains to the Tractor Supply facility. Our old ordinance says that you gotta have 5 acres for the tank to set on. We just did that not very long ago. And I'll let Russell speak, but this Tractor Supply has like 4.7 something acres, correct, sir?
Yes, that's correct.
Would you come to the podium?
I can.
And if there's any questions, or if you wanna talk about this a little bit, I can tell all night you've been wanting to talk, so.
Yeah, I was over there just waiting.
Please
No,
do
so
the
what
other
we had
part.
come to you to a few months ago was to ask for some parameters and guidelines on inside city limits, bulk propane storage and use. And so some of those minimum guidelines that were requested was a minimum of 5 acres. There were some setbacks in there from property lines, just boundary lines from each property. I believe it was a minimum of 100 feet, maybe 150 feet. Anyhow, the measurements, although I haven't personally gone and measured the boundary lines, it looks to be, far enough a setback on the property line, so. It was, something during the plans review, maybe just an oversight whenever it was being reviewed there, and it was caught later on, so, whenever it was noticed, they were putting a pad out there for a large something. And so when I went out to visit with them, that's what they were doing, so. I did look on some software, similar to Google Earth, and it showed it was like 4.65 acres, 4.69, something, so. Anyhow, that's where we're at tonight, to be able to allow that, especially since they've gone as far as they have in constructing their area to have it's a 1,000-gallon propane tank. Propane's about, I don't know, a little over 4 pounds a gallon, 4.2 pounds per gallon, I believe it is. So I did look in some other communities, and there are other Tractor Supplies. The one that I looked at specifically was in Stillwater, because that satellite image allowed me to get that far southeast of here. So they do have a very similar setup to this.
Where does it sit at that store?
It looks to be on the, so it was on the west side of the highway, and it looked like it was right on the north side of the building. And there's a property adjacent to that. It looked like it was like a multiple occupancy type structure. So they do have what's called bollards. They're just real thick pieces of pipe, and they're set around the area where that tank will be out here. So if you see those pieces of pipe sticking out, that large area there is where they'll have that tank.
Where does it sit on the property?
Just directly north of the property, so when you pull into the area,
Where that pizza hut is?
yeah, where the large sign, where the Walmart sign used to be, just as you're pulling straight into where the old vestibule entryway used to be, it's sitting just in the parking area,
Okay,
right out front.
Be right at the edge of the old fence that was sitting there, basically.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Any questions for Russell? I guess the only hardship I have is that, if, say my daughter and the 2 grandkids, they can pull right up to that tank and park. And that kind of bothers me a little bit. But if it meets the other parameters, I guess.
Did they say what kind of tank is this? Is it double walled, or, and there's,
So,
regulation for tanks like this?
There are, yes, yeah, there's some, they're heavily regulated, especially those large of bulk tanks, especially where they're gonna be doing a distribution from. And so there are, there's a pretty strict set of standards that they have to meet when they're building those tanks, so.
And it's your opinion that this won't appreciably cause, any real adverse effect to the health, safety of the public? Allowing it there? Can you say that?
I can say that they've, because they have them at other stores and they haven't experienced these issues. I did speak with a gentleman from AmeriGas who was supplying the tank and the plumbing and electrical to them. And he said they do have these tanks at several of their, apparently many of their stores. And I did speak with the individual that was installing these bollards, and he said he, you know, apparently he's a contractor for that company, and he goes around and does that. It doesn't sound like there's been issues.
And it's not just tractors, but I mean, if you go like to that New
Sure.
Loves down there, or at Guthrie, several places that do that same
Okay.
thing.
Yeah, well, I wasn't aware of that, so.
And we're not really thinking with this 4-acre, a requirement, if we dropped it to 5 or 4, there's not really a whole lot of other properties that we know of that would currently fit in with this exception.
Right, I'm not aware of any, you know, inside the city limits where we would just continue to place these things.
Is there any way that we can find out for sure where the boundaries of the neighboring property is? I'd hate to be short just by saying eyesight. I mean, if we don't know where the boundaries are.
Yeah, I don't know if that'd be a survey.
Yeah, we can do that. The property that's low-lying there to the west of Perry Plaza, that's owned by the same folks that own Perry Plaza.
What are you looking at there, Bill? Just
Well,
curious.
Pizza Hut, I don't know where Pizza Hut's boundaries are up there. I mean, what I'm trying to say is if it's gotta be 100 feet from something, I don't wanna set it up and it's only 80 feet and then we catch some raft, you know, for somebody. Cause we said we think it's 100 feet to the,
Yeah, we could find that out.
I mean, by no means do I wanna hinder.
Pictometry, would that do, Pictometry do that?
Pardon?
Would Pictometry do that?
It
Show you how far it is?
it shifts the boundary lines over, like even into the grass area. So it was just hard for me to determine because the data that they show on that view is older, so it doesn't show like where the new area, where they're building the tank. So I can't get an exact measurement from there to the boundary line that it shows because it's you know, it's just an old photograph.
It's not in their building plans? I would think something that size would have the plan of where that was gonna sit also.
You talking about the 1,000?
Yeah, the tank.
It was on the plan, it just got overlooked.
But we shouldn't we be able to determine the distance through that plan?
I haven't seen the plan, maybe so, but what we could do is we could ask David Payne, our city planner, to find out exactly how
Well,
far.
the tank's gonna be in the middle of those steel rods, right?
Correct, yeah, I think the question we're trying to make sure is.
Is where's the boundary? Nobody knows where the boundaries are.
The setbacks from the property line to the west.
I'm not so much worried
How far
about the
does it
west.
seem to be?
I mean,
When you're out
it
there.
appears that it meets the minimum distance, and I think that's what the mayor was asking, is can we just make sure of that?
Yeah.
I guess there's no mistakes or anything that I've seen.
There's been several times since I've been on the council, we've assumed a few things. And it's come back and wasn't so.
The current one, doesn't it include the 150 feet or 100 feet?
Yes.
Is it already in it?
Yes. The
So
only thing that
the
we're
only
approving
thing
is
we're
going from
changing
5
is
to 4.
going to 4, so.
Right.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, but if you're not 100 feet from the boundary, you don't meet
That's-
that.
Well, that's a different issue though.
That's a
than-
different issue than what this is. All we're changing is from 5 to 4, we're not changing the minimum.
Yeah, but if you're not within that, we don't meet that.
Yeah,
Right,
but
which would
we're-
be a
we're
change
not
that they have
saying-
to do, but we're
We're
not.
not
Yeah,
saying they can
that's-
put the tank there
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just
Exactly.
talking about the acreage.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just asking if it was.
I was just clarifying her question, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
One more question. What do you want to do with item 16?
Motion to approve ordinance.
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Calderon.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Beck.
Yes.
Iker.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Wines. Yes. Stroller.
Yes. Motion on emergency, please.
Motion on emergency.
Second.
Yep, roll call, please.
Calderon.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Delbeck.
Yes.
Iker.
Yes.
Marshall. Yes. White.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Wines. Yes. Stroller.
Yes. there any new business that needs to come before council this evening? Seeing none, item number 18 is consider convening executive session to discuss the purchase of certain interest of real property pertaining or permanent and temporary flowage easement related to the Upper Black Bear watershed projects pursuant to Title 25, Section 307B3 of the Oklahoma statutes as amended. Before you make the motion, I would like to ask Dixie to stay because she's been heavily involved in this process, and also Meredith because she's got the purse.
No, I don't. But yeah.
Motion to convene an executive session.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Colburn.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Dillbeck.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Wines.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Motion to reconvene.
Motion to reconvene.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Colburn.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Dillbeck.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Wines.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Item 20, take any action deemed necessary pursuant to such executive session.
I make a motion that we, to authorize payment to those people that have approved and assigned the easement related to the Upper Black Bear watershed project.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Colburn.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Dillbeck.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Wines.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Item 21, motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Colburn.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Dillbeck.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.